Hey everybody, I don't know if you're on yet. I'm not seeing anything. I hope that it is actually working. All right, greetings all. Hey, so let's see. We've got several people, it looks like, on already. Sigdar Aluminos, Matt H, Tom Spallone, Lucas, Jord, Matt H, Alberto. Hello, everybody. So what I'd like to do on today's live stream, I haven't done this for a while, is talk to you guys and gals about my experience this past weekend playing my first live performance as Chords of Orion. And it was pretty cool. You may have seen a recent video that I posted. I forget what the title was, but in the thumbnail it had the word fear, right? And it was about feeling a little stressed out about my first live performance. Now, as I mentioned in that video, I've played out a lot in my life. I played in a band for many years, and I play every week in a church that I attend, but I only play acoustic guitar. You know, it's like drop dead simple stuff. I hadn't really taken the Chords of Orion stuff out on the road before. So this was kind of that inaugural event. And yeah, it was interesting. Before I go any further, if you can just drop a comment in the chat, let me know how the video and audio sounds. Can you see me okay? Can you hear me okay? Just let me know. That will make me feel better if I know that. Let's see who else has joined. Hey Tim, how's it going? Dylan, Robbie. Let's see, Manos, Tobias, Ernie Gray, James, Light Devouring Life Forms. Did your mother name you that? Mask, Simon, Spider of Pinnix, Daniel, yeah, Metalhead Hippie, hey, all right. Thanks a lot for joining, everybody. Hey, Tim, thanks for letting me know the video and audio is loud and clear. Okay, so anyhow, let me tell you a little bit about the festival and my experience there, and then I'll open up to the group here for any questions, comments you want to make. You know, we can kind of diverge into different topics. So first of all, let me pull off my headphones for a minute. This is the official NEEMFest t-shirt. Right here. There we go. And NEEM, N-E-E-M, stands for North East Electro-Music. And they're an interesting group. I call it a group, it's actually a community. And it's a community of electronic music enthusiasts that some of which have known each other for 20, 25 years. There's a bunch of older folks there who've been doing this thing for a long time, but I don't want to paint it as only one age range. I would say in the group of people that was there, we're probably talking, gosh, I don't know, late 20s to early to mid 70s. Yeah, really, it's a broad age range of people. And it was pretty fascinating. I'm into ambient guitar, and I do a little bit with synthesizers, but I am not an electronic musician, right? And man, the equipment there was amazing. Everything from simple keyboards, MIDI keyboards plugged into, say, a MacBook Pro, to full-on modular setups that were just incredible. And the range of performance was really interesting too. Everything from Berlin style, you know, that Berlin style electronic kind of sound, to more ambient sounds, to noise, to extremely experimental, to more song-related, kind of song-focused electronic music. So really varied. And basically what happened in that festival, it's 3 days long in a very small, beautiful village in upstate New York, obviously in the U.S., and basically from about noon to midnight, so 12 hours every day, there's a performance going on every half an hour, and there were 2 stages set up, so you would kind of go from one stage to the other. So that's kind of what that is. They meet once a year for the big festival, and there are occasional meetups, outside of that large festival. I found out also there's a loose kind of group, a loose kind of network of various groups. There's one in the New York, kind of Northeast U.S. area, one down south in the southern part of the U.S., and someone's trying to start a group in the Washington, D.C. area, which is not too far from where I live. So kind of interesting. All right, so what did I do there? Well, I was invited to come and play, and that's why I thought, I've been wanting to do some performances, so this might be a good opportunity. And so I played one of the half-an-hour sets. I played on Saturday evening, and it was really fun. It's the venue is an old, very old church building that's been converted into an event center. And so the stage where I played was in the original sanctuary of the church, and it was redone. It was a fabulous room. I mean, really, really nice. And I hope, before you ask, I don't know if anybody's asked this, but I do hope that there will be a video and audio of my performance. That was certainly the goal of the folks running the event, was to record each performer's performance. In addition to what I played, I also did 2 workshops. I talked about one workshop was kind of on my process and how I think about using effects and amp modelers and that sort of thing. And then the other one was on building an online audience for your music. And if you've kind of followed me here on the channel, you've probably seen 1 or 2 videos kind of on that topic. So that was it. It was pretty cool. The thumbnail for this live stream is an image that one of the guys took there as I was performing the set. So let me look through the comments here and see what's happening. Video's a little blurry. Yeah, Matt, I'm gonna have to work on my live stream. I haven't done this for a while, so I'm not getting the full HD as far as I can tell. Maybe not, but yeah, I'll try to improve that for the next one. Let's see. So we got a couple questions here. I'm gonna come back around to some of the NEEMFest stuff in a couple minutes, but let me see what's going on here. So OP says, what pedal flanger would you recommend? I don't really have a recommendation for flangers. I don't often use a separate modulation pedal. So though the pedal that I used back in the day that I really, really liked was the old classic Boss BF2, the one with the purple case. I used one of those for many, many years when I played in the prog rock band that I used to be a member of back from the late 70s into the early 90s. That thing was a workhorse, and it sounded really great through an amp. I used an old Fender Deluxe Reverb. But now, with stacking delays and reverbs, I find that having a separate modulation unit sometimes is just overkill, as if everything else right isn't overkill. So if anybody else has a recommendation for a flanger, why don't you drop a comment and let OP know what you think about flangers and such. All right. Okay. I see AP already said TC Electronic Vortex flanger. Well, I love TC Electronic pedals, and no, they don't pay me any money. Some people have accused me of that. They don't pay me any money. I just use their stuff because I like it. But yeah, maybe that's a good suggestion. Let's see. OP, you also ask, what open guitar tuning do you recommend to play rock with combination ambient music? An open tuning. Well, I normally use standard tuning. If I'm playing a baritone, it's what I call baritone standard, which is just like regular standard tuning on a guitar, but it's dropped down a perfect fourth. So instead of E to E, it goes B to B. But if I were going to use an alternate tuning, I would probably use DADGAD, D-A-D-G-A-D. I think that's a good general purpose open tuning. You could probably adapt it to whatever kind of music you're playing. Let's see. Did I use my new guitar? Levi asks. If you're referring to the 10S, no, I did not take that guitar. I took one of the PRS SE277 baritones. The reason why I didn't take the 10S is I haven't used it enough yet to feel totally comfortable with it. And I think I mentioned on the demo video that I did a little tweaking to the setup. Well, I have a little bit more to go just in terms of the bridge saddle heights and things like that to get it dialed into what I prefer. So because of my relative unfamiliarity with the guitar, I decided not to take it. But it would have sounded nice. I do think it would have. Yeah, Neem. Yeah, Illuminaz says, yeah. I was going to ask what Neem is. Yeah, it's kind of a weird acronym, but that's what it is. North East Electro-Music. That's cool. Okay, how did your gear live setup work at Neem? Well, I did kind of want to tell you guys about that. So what I used, kind of the brain of what I used live, is this is going to look weird, is the Headrush pedal board. So you've probably seen this a little bit on the channel. I have not really talked too much about the actual full Headrush pedal board. You might know that I bought the gig board right after it came out because I was thinking it might be a good kind of a good brain for a pedal board because it includes amp modeling and all, but because it didn't have a stereo effects loop, it wasn't going to work for me, so I sent it back, and I decided to go ahead and spring for the full pedal board. I got a really good deal on this last year during the Christmas holiday season here in the United States. The retailer where I got it had a crazy deal going, so it was a really good deal. It was at least a couple $100 off of the regular price. So if you're interested in the Headrush pedal board, you might want to keep your eyes open during the holiday season here in the United States, which is typically between the end of November and the end of December. If you're not from the United States, that's typically we give gifts here for that Christmas holiday. We give way too many gifts. Don't get me started on that. But everybody buys a lot of stuff. So all the retailers put stuff on sale. So again, if you're outside of the US, you might want to keep your eyes open. Anyhow, this thing was amazing. I really enjoyed using it live. One of the great things about it is built like a tank. It is super heavy. Like I'm picking it up, but I feel like it weighs 20 or 25 pounds. I don't know. It's pretty heavy and it's rock solid. So when it's on the stage and you're tapping switches and using the volume pedal, or if you've got it set up as an expression pedal, it's really solid. It doesn't move at all. Really good. And because Headrush licensed let's see, where is it? Oh, here we go. Because Headrush licensed the 11 rack algorithms, it's easier for me to dial in an amp model sound that I like, right? So I can kind of dial in that typical tone that I like. The one thing that I missed that I didn't have, I just didn't want to overcomplicate my setup. I didn't have my Strymon Riverside distortion pedal to front end into the Headrush. So I use the onboard overdrives, and they sound good, but they're not quite as good as the Strymon Riverside. But for reducing the complexity of the setup, it was worth it for sure. Let me show you the rest of what I used here. In addition to the headrush pedal board, I also put together a small secondary pedal board, and this is just this is a Classic Junior, a Pedal Train Classic Junior pedal board, and as you can see, I've got the Ditto X4 looper on it. So the signal chain on this pedal board is the Ditto X4 looper into the Strymon Dig, into the Strymon Timeline, and then finally into the Source Audio Nemesis. So I wanted a looper, and I wanted some additional delays available for the set. The reason why I wanted the Ditto X4 is because the looper in the headrush pedal board is inadequate. I'll just leave it at that. It doesn't have the features that I need, and which is surprising because my looping needs are really pretty simple. But I really love the Ditto X4, and I really do. This was not a unit that TC Electronic sent me. I purchased this unit because I really wanted the features. I really like this looper because it's got two separate loopers that can run independently of each other. And so I use those for creating drones and then the Frippertronics type of fading out loops, right? Which is part of what I did on Saturday night. And then, you know, having more delay pedals is always a good thing. And there was a point in the performance when I had the looper going, the dig activated, the timeline activated, the Source Audio Nemesis activated, and I was even running two delay pedals, two delay effects within the headrush pedal board itself. And amazingly enough, it did not sound washed out. I still was able to get some nice distinct notes with a very complex soundscape of delays kind of riding underneath the notes. It worked out really well. Anyhow, that was the setup I used. I did not, hang on a sec here. We'll get that out of my way. I did not bring any, well, I did. I brought two speaker cabinets. I have two of the small headrush monitor cabinets. I brought them, but I didn't need them because the venue had a pretty good monitoring system. So that's kind of the equipment that I used. Let's see, what else do we have going on here? So that was Light Devouring Life Forms. Let's see, a couple more questions maybe. George says, can you try and put separate effects in the loop of your delay pedals? I guess I could try that. I have never tried it, partially because when you do that, typically if it's a stereo delay, it turns it into a mono delay, and that's not my preference. But I guess I could do that to create a very complex delayed sound. Maybe I'll try that sometime. Oh, we have another suggestion from Levi for a flanger. I probably missed this. Sorry. The EQD Pyramids flanger. Well, all of EQD stuff is great, right? So that's probably a good idea. Let's see. Lucas says, are you recording your ambient tracks in one take? So, and thanks for the kind words also, Lucas. So many of the tunes that I do here on the channel are indeed done with one take. I typically come down here to the studio, and a lot of times it's, some of you know, I have a day job just like everybody else. So I come in here in the evening after I get off of work, and I don't always have much time. So I usually try to get in my mind, what do I want to play? I'll set up the effects chain, and then I'll turn on the video camera and the recording software and do a few takes, right? So, and then I'll pick the take that I like the best and then create the video out of that. For some of the tracks on some of my albums, I have done a little bit more where I will combine additional tracks in with the guitar parts. But a lot of what you see here is just me playing guitar, just one track, maybe just adding one other track of a synthesizer drone kind of texture. Keep it simple. That's what I say. All right. Got another suggestion for the Boss BF2. All right. I agree, Tony. Maris Polymoon can flange. Oh, I didn't know that. I don't have a Polymoon, so I've never tried that out. That's a good suggestion, Bill. Thank you. Let's see. BF3 flanger. All right. Great. Eddie says, and I think this was in reference to tunings, Open C or Open B, tuning like Devin Townsend, best tuning ever. Great. Some of you guys, I'm not really that familiar with Devin Townsend with his techniques and such. I've listened to some of his songs, but that's about it. But those of you who know his music better, that's great. So good suggestion there. Mega 12 AX7. Hey, glad you're on the stream. What do you think would be some interesting late effects for a mic'd alto saxophone? Looking for something really spacey. Oh man, now that's interesting. So saxophone spacey. I assume that you have a pickup on the saxophone or one of those microphones, right, that attach to the saxophone. So you would run that into some kind of direct box, I would guess. So what I would probably do is focus on a delay pedal. So maybe a very flexible delay pedal that allows you to do a lot of different things. Like I don't think I would get, I happen to have this here. Like I don't know. This could sound really good, but I don't think I would get a Strymon Volante that is kind of focused on one type of delay. I would probably get something that's more general purpose. I think I do love Strymon delays, the tone of Strymon delays. So I think the Timeline would be an excellent choice. The Empress Echo system that I demoed here recently, I think that would also be an excellent choice. There's a lot of good delays out there, so it might be worth experimenting a little bit. I don't know if you're near a music store where you could take the sax in and kind of hook it up and try a few delays out. All right, let's see. Will you give your recipe for making a good song? Well, if we're talking about in the ambient guitar kind of space, a lot of what I like to do is start off with ideas from old traditional songs. Like I don't do covers of modern songs, partially because of the copyright issues surrounding doing a modern song. But if you go back prior to 1923, I think it is, 1922, anything created before then, at least here in the United States, is considered public domain. And there are so many beautiful melodies and chord progressions out there from old traditional tunes. Now, they might be old folk tunes. If you follow a particular religious tradition, for example, like I'm an old school Presbyterian Christian. There's a rich heritage of all these old hymn tunes out there. So whatever you're interested in kind of historically, right? If you kind of follow that tradition of music back, there's a lot of great material that you can use to generate ideas for your songs. That's what I do. I find it really helpful. All right, let's see. Everything jumped down here. Yeah, a couple of other good suggestions for tunes. Passion, patience, practice, listening to a lot of music. I think that's an awesome idea. So yeah, absolutely. What's my favorite electric guitar? Which would you recommend to someone who's starting their guitar collection? That I think you go with the type of electric guitar tone that you enjoy. So let me give you a couple of examples. Do you really enjoy the classic Les Paul sound? If you do, then you probably want to look for a dual humbucker type of guitar. If you can't afford a Les Paul, which most of us can't, right? Because they're expensive guitars. Maybe one of the more inexpensive Les Paul types of guitars, like an Epiphone or something like that. If you enjoy single coil pickups, Fender obviously is. That is an obvious guitar brand to consider, with Stratocasters, Telecasters, all that. And they come in, as you know, they come in a variety of price points. So I really think it depends on what tone you like. As far as my favorite electric guitar, it varies. My favorite electric guitars tend to be the ones that I have, because I get to play them and get to know them and understand what kind of tones they can produce and understand how they feel and how I can play them to hopefully get the most out of them. So my favorite standard guitar right now was and still is a Carvin HF2 Fat Boy. So it's an Alan Holdsworth signature model electric. I am totally in love with that standard guitar. I don't play it too much here on the channel at this point because I really like to bring the baritone in for solo work, but as far as a standard electric guitar goes, that thing is just a fabulous guitar. I love the hollow body tone that you get out of it. It's got a nice beefy thick neck. Yeah, I like thick necks. I like a lot of beef in the neck, yeah, it just is great. The baritones, on the baritone side, for electric baritone, if you're going to go out and buy a baritone, if you've got the budget to get into the PRS SE277, those have been just amazing baritones for me. They have worked super well. And really, in the big scheme of price, at least here in the United States, I would say they're a moderate price guitar, because they're way under $1,000 US dollars. So again, here in the US, I would say they're very moderately priced, and they sound and play great for a baritone guitar. All right, let's see. Did I ever name my pedal board? No, I did not. I'm not sure if did I say something about naming my pedal board? Maybe I did. I don't remember, but I don't have a name. Charlie. How about Charlie? All right. Let's see. Let's see. Hey, Bill, it's great to hear about your experience there. I was wondering if there were any invited musicians. You mean besides me? No, I think it was just me who was invited. The other performers were all part of the community, and so there's like a registration process where you sign up if you want to perform, and then they kind of go through and figure out the schedule and who's playing when, for each day. How was the audience reaction? It was good. I think everybody enjoyed it. I know I enjoyed it, so it was good. I was happy with the performance and just interacting with the audience. All right. Tim, so was there a pedal you wished you'd taken, thinking of the New Neighbor Reverb? I didn't even use a reverb when I was there. Part of the reason why, a couple reasons. One is I thought, well, if I need a reverb, the Headrush pedal board has a reverb. I know that I'm going with a lot of delay pedals, so I probably don't want a reverb. And this is going to be in a larger room, and the reverb may have just made it sound too washed out. So I'm not sorry that I didn't take the New Neighbor. I kind of selected pieces that didn't require what I really like about the New Neighbor Immerse, which is the hall reverb and the ability to kind of have it create a drone wash that kind of rides under your tone. So I selected pieces that didn't require that. The one pedal that maybe I would have liked to have taken might have been the Strymon El Capistan, to get a more tape delay tone for the Frippertronics kind of stuff. But again, in the interest of simplification, I decided to make do with the TC Electronic Ditto X4, which can do that just fine. It just doesn't have a tape delay tone to it. Let's see. The Boss ME50 has a few interesting effects that are only on the Petal. Petal filter sweep, Petal. Okay, so I guess this is more with the kind of the question about a flanger. So that sounds pretty interesting. BF3 flanger put before distortion sounds amazing. And yeah, so I would just encourage everyone here to play around with changing the order of your pedals as you're creating an effects chain. You might find, like Lucas is suggesting, that, you know, I typically put a flanger after a distortion, but if you put it before the distortion, you're going to get distorted flanging, if that makes sense. And that could be really interesting. So yeah, I think that's a great suggestion. Somebody, sorry, that jumped up here. Sorry, the comments are kind of jumping around a little bit. The Godin multi-act Spectrum guitar with 3 different pickups. Ooh, yeah, I tried one Godin guitar. I actually bought one, and I sent it back because it had some major issues with the neck and the frets. Like I bought it new. It was, I think it was, it wasn't refurbished. I think it was an open box. I like to try and buy stuff on sale, guys, right? I hope you do too. That's the best way to get stuff, right? You can get more for your money. So it was open box, and it had a problem with a couple of the frets, and it was terrible, so I sent it back. But I have seen and heard a lot of great music coming out of Godin players. So yeah, definitely. Michael B., newbie here. If you have something like the Head Rush, why do I continue to use external delay pedals like the Timeline? Because the external pedals can do things that the Head Rush built-in effects can't do. And they can get tones that the internal Head Rush effects can't do. So my main use of any multi-effects board is almost always going to be for the amp modeler and the speaker cab emulation. And that's how I view things. And then I'm going to add into that, I'm going to layer on to that basic sound external effects pedals. Now, fortunately, the Head Rush has some really nice sounding, I'll call them basic effects. You know, so for example, the compressor is great. There's 3 or 4 different compressor options, and you can get a really clean, nice compressed sound. The distortions are not amazing, but they're pretty good. And in a big live room where you're listening, 50 feet away from the player, you're not going to typically notice the nuances between those distortions and maybe a higher end distortion. I would use the higher end in the studio, obviously. The delays sound great, but they're very straightforward, simple delays. Okay. The reverb is a good basic digital reverb, but it's not a New Neighbor Immerse. It's not a Strymon Big Sky or anything like that. So that's why I add in additional pedals to gain additional sonic capabilities. Hopefully that makes sense. Any thoughts on the Walrus slow reverb? I got one hanging around here. There we go. I saw that thing. I did a demo of this a little bit ago. It is a cool reverb. For me, to be honest, I will most likely use this from time to time, but I will not make massive use of it because it's a mono reverb and I run a stereo rig. So mono reverbs, stereo rig, right? So this is limiting for me. But if you're looking for the type of sounds that you can get out of the slow, and if you're running in mono in particular, or if you don't mind shifting into mono mode while you're running this, you can get, awesome sounds. It is a high quality unit. I mean, the case, everything is very high quality. So I would definitely recommend it if you like the sounds that it can make, for sure. And that was not a commercial for Walrus. I guess it was, but they didn't ask me to do it. You asked the question. All right, let's see. What else? Ooh, sorry. This is weird. Everything is kind of jumping down. So I might have missed somebody here. Have I ever messed around with Fripp's new standard tuning? Yes, I have, and I don't play it, but I actually use some of the concepts from it, in particular on acoustic guitar. I love to tune down to C, low C, D, G, D, A, D. So it's kind of like Dadgad, but you lower the fifth and sixth strings down an extra whole step. And so the bottom, the sixth, fifth, fourth, and third strings on that tuning are the same as new standard tuning. I do not like, on new standard tuning, I do not like the first and second strings, right? So the what would normally be the B string is an E, and then the first string instead of an E is a G, and it's a minor third. I hate that. I hate strings in that interval playing. I'm not sure. I guess I'd have to take lessons from Robert Fripp to understand why he decided to go with that interval, but it doesn't work for me, not at all. I would rather have a perfect fourth or even a perfect fifth for an interval versus a minor third. Maybe it's for chromatics. I'm not really sure, but I'm not much of a chromatic player. That's not what I'm into, so it doesn't work for me. All right. Let's see. What is your usual setup? I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. Is it Migret? So remember, I'm American, so forgive me. But what is your usual setup for acoustic guitar ambient? So that's really interesting. If it's a studio recording, in many cases I will record the guitar with just a stereo pair of microphones and record the guitar dry and then add all the effects in the mix to create kind of that ambient wash. I don't play acoustic guitar out live with any effects. As I mentioned before, I just play plain old acoustic guitar into a microphone. But if I were gonna do that, I do have a couple guitars with pickups. I have a Taylor baritone with the expression system. So I've done a couple recordings of that where I've taken the output of the guitar and ran it into a compressor for just light compression, just to control the dynamics of the guitar, and then from there into a delay or delay pedals, and then finally into a reverb. So I don't have a usual setup. That if I were going to do a recording tomorrow for ambient acoustic guitar, I would kind of put something together kind of on the fly. What string set would you recommend for baritone? I don't have them sitting here. I like the D'Addario EXL 157. 157. They go from 014 to 068. I think that's a really good gauge for a lot of baritone length scale, baritone scale length. Next, there we go. The other set that I like is the Elixir NanoWeb baritone strings for electric baritone. I do replace the third string, which is unwound. I do not like wound third strings on baritone guitar, so I replace that with another Elixir string that's a wound string. I think you get better tuning, stability, etc. For acoustic baritone, right, Light Devouring doesn't ask about electric or acoustic. For acoustic baritone, I like the Elixir acoustic baritone set. And that goes from 016 to 070. And I replace the second string, which is unwound, with a wound string. So I really only have one unwound string. I find you get much better tone and tuning stability with that set if you replace what would be the F sharp string with a wound string. I know it sounds weird, right? For rock players, we want skinny, slinky strings and we want unwound strings. But I really, as I think about tone, I typically prefer the wound string tone. It gives you a bell-like quality. And since I'm not doing a lot of bends and crazy things like that, I don't really care about having a non-wound string. Okay. Thoughts on multi-effect unit versus pedal board. Do I have any videos on the Headrush pedal board that I mentioned? Hey, Daniel. I haven't gone through a complete demo of the Headrush pedal board. Maybe I should do that and kind of talk about that a little more in detail. I have talked about why I think the Headrush pedal board is still, with the advent of the gig board, is still worth considering purchasing. So I do have a demo or a video discussing that. I've also got several videos of me using the pedal board to perform with. Thoughts on multi-effects units? I think they can be quite useful for sure. And I'm always open to multi-effects, even though I just said that I like to bring in external effect pedals. Definitely, when I played at this NEEMFest last Saturday, 2 days ago, I used a combination of the outboard pedals plus the internal effects. So yeah, I think if you have a multi-effects unit and it's getting you the tones that you're looking for, then awesome, right? It's great. It's not about the equipment specifically. The question is, to my mind, is does the equipment get the tone that you're looking to get? Does it get you what you're looking to accomplish? If it does, then it's great. And I think the reality is, as time goes on, the multi-effects units are going to keep becoming more powerful and more flexible. Hang on. This guy here, the Mod Duo that I demoed a couple months ago, I have not been able to use it too much since after I did the demo, but I am planning on using it more. This is an interesting, I think this is an interesting indication of where multi-effects units are going. With the Mod Duo, you can build the effects that you want in the unit. Like you're not limited to specific effects. There's a whole community creating effects for this unit. So when you build your internal pedal board, if you don't like the effects that come with the thing, you just download effects that you do like and then put them together. So this becomes really a lot more like a brain. That's where I think the multi-effects units are going, to be honest, which is kind of cool. All right, let me scroll down here carefully so I don't miss anything. Did I conquer my fear? Yes, I did. So I mentioned on that fear video that I have a lot of experience getting up in front of an audience. So I acted when I was in high school and college. I played in a band for 15 years. I have a lot of speaking experience, teaching experience, not in a college, but more like technical training kind of things. So for me, there's two things, and you guys might want to think about this if you're a performing musician. Two things that help me. One is I treat a performance as if I'm acting. Like even right now, talking to you all, I am acting. Now, let me explain this carefully. I'm not faking who I am, but internally in my mind, I'm putting on my acting role. So I'm viewing this as a performance, and that allows me to step away emotionally. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. And so I do that on the stage too. The other thing that's really helpful for me is at some point I realized that there's a good chance I'm going to look like a fool no matter what I do when I get on the stage, and that's okay. So once I got my head wrapped around that, it was like, oh, I'm going to look like a fool, and that's okay. And I find that to be a really freeing frame of mind. So if you're a performing musician and you struggle with getting up on the stage to do things, I would suggest trying that out. Right. It's all mental games, right? We play mental games to kind of get ourselves into a place where we can perform effectively. So great question. Thanks for asking. Do I like bossa nova? I don't know that much about bossa nova. I know it's got a deep and rich tradition, but no, I'm not very familiar with the style of music. That's in another language. I'm sorry, I don't understand. Did I employ my ebow? Yes, I did play my ebow on one. I played 3 pieces, so I think the first piece was like 6 minutes, maybe 8 minutes, and then whatever the balance was, the last piece was the longest. So I did use my ebow in the middle of the set. Have I ever used a Les Paul? Yes, I have. I've got, back in the day, I had some friends. I've never owned a Les Paul, but I had a few friends with Les Pauls. I've played a lot of them. I also owned an old Ibanez, late 70s Ibanez, that was very much like a Les Paul, and that was a great guitar. Great guitar. Let's see. Flashback 1 versus Flashback 2. You talking about the X4? Well, I would say regardless, Flashback 2. Absolutely. Why not? If you, unless you're looking for if you're looking for a deal, right? Money deal, and you can get the Flashback 1 cheaper, used or something like that, then go for it. They're great pedals too, but all things being equal, certainly go for the Flashback 2. Why not have that mash button available if you would like to use it? That's what I think. Fripp's tuning is a bit silly. Yeah. Slow means lazy in Swedish. Oh, I didn't know that, Dylan. Thank you. I know I'm kind of behind here. All right. Were there any challenges you had making the live setup work like you wanted? Yes. I'd say the main challenge was adjusting the balance between dry and wet tones. What I found was that for some reason, running the external pedals, even though I had it as an inline effects loop, the pedal balances were different for some reason. So I had to kind of adjust everything from my normal settings for those particular pedals. Other than that, I don't think there were too many challenges. I really tried to keep everything as simple as possible. There was only, I had my cable from my guitar going in. I had one cable going to the from the effects end to the auxiliary pedal board, a stereo pair coming back into the effects return, and then XLR outs on the head rush pedal board went into the PA snake, and that was it. It was a really simple setup. It took me about literally 5 minutes to set it up and plug it in and get to the point where I could start tuning the guitar and doing the sound check. Yeah, it was really nice. Okay, I have one question. What happened to Ambient Guitar Highlight Series? Well, that wasn't meant to be an ongoing series forever and ever. It was. I think it was good and useful while I did it, but there were a couple of reasons why I stopped. One was to move on into some different video topics. Right, I have limited time, and I think number 2 is with the way YouTube has been changing their content ID system to identify copyright issues and using other videos, clips of other videos, I decided there was one of the videos that the ambient guitar highlight videos that I did ended up having a copyright flag thrown on it. And so I realized, and I'm sure whoever submitted wasn't thinking that, that was going to be the case, but it was through the YouTube system. So I decided, it's probably time to stop doing this because I don't want to get copyright strikes on my channel and end up with problems. So it's a little unfortunate, but those were the reasons why I stopped that series. Let's see. What do I have against transients? I don't have anything against transients. I'm not sure what you mean. But if you want to tell me a little more, let me know. Hi, Bill. Will there be any video from NEEMFest of your set? I'm hoping so, and if there is, I'll post it. What's my favorite? Hi from Russia. Greetings. Hello from the United States. What's your favorite reverb pedal and plugin? My favorite reverb plugin is the really two. Well, there's three. I really love the stock Logic Pro Chromaverb. It comes with the software. That is a fabulous sounding reverb. In addition to that, I really love the Valhalla Shimmer reverb. Oh man, that thing is just fantastic. And then third is the Audio Damage EOS, which is EOS 2 reverb plugin. So Audio Damage, that's all one word if you want to look it up. Those are my three favorite reverb plugins. For pedals, I would have to say I'm not going to pick one. I would say my current favorites have been and are the New Neighbor Immerse. And to be honest, I think I prefer just a little bit. I'm going to have to compare them again, but I think I prefer a little bit the original Immerse versus the Mark II, although the Mark II is fabulous sounding. There's just something about the Hall reverb that resonates with my very soul. I love that one specific reverb. That is why I have the New Neighbor Immerse. So that's one. Of course, Strymon Big Sky is a fabulous sounding reverb. And the Boss RV500 is an amazing reverb. So those are three. The Flashback, the Hall of Fame is great, but if you put a big pile of reverbs together and said, "Hey, Bill, pick one to use," it would be one of those three, probably the Immerse, the Big Sky, or the DD or the RV500, Boss RV500. Right now, until next week, right when I try something else out. Have I ever tried any of the Chase Bliss pedals? No, I have not. I've seen a lot of people using the Mood, and I've heard a lot of great things about it. But I have not tried that, nor have I ever used any Chase Bliss pedals. I get your joke, Robbie. Sorry. I do like to use volume pedals. I guess I don't like transients. Yeah. It's more mellow if you chop off the attack. Don't you agree? Gotcha, though. All right. Ernie says, "Hi, Bill. I wanted to ask, most of the pedals you review are the ones you've gathered over the years, or do the companies send them to you for review?" Yeah, that's a great question. I've talked about it before. It's actually a combination. So every year, I keep saying I'm not going to buy any equipment this year, but I do. And I'm very thankful, and I mean this sincerely, I'm very thankful that the YouTube channel and some of the other related things that I do to music provide, while it does not provide enough money for me to quit my day job, like I still work full time, it does provide enough money that I can go out and buy a few, some nice pedals and things like that. So I do buy equipment every year. And when I buy equipment, it's going to be stuff that I like, right? So that's natural for me to demo that on the channel. Now, let me give you an example. Here it is. Hang on. And this is a good example. The Strymon El Capistan. I really wanted an El Capistan, and I love the company Strymon. I think they're great people. I've had the pleasure of emailing with a few of them, and I know they're not a big company, so I purchased the El Capistan. I paid money for it, and I am so happy that I was able to get the pedal and support the company. But Strymon also has sent me some pedals that I did not pay for, and this is one of them, the Strymon Volante. So they basically said, hey, would you be interested in a Volante? And of course, yes. To all honesty, implicit is, and if you like it, would you do a demo of it, right, on the channel? So that's exactly what happened. They sent me the Volante, and it too is a wonderful pedal, and I was very happy to do a demo of it on the channel. And I do use it from time to time as I create music that I post here on the channel. So those are kind of good examples of equipment that I buy and then equipment that a company sends me. So it's a combination of both. What I don't do very much of are the full-on paid promotional videos where a company pays me money and says, Bill, we'll pay you, X amount of money for you to do a video. I have done a couple of those, and to be honest, I'm probably going to do a couple of them later this fall. I won't mention who the company is or what the pedals are. But my philosophy on that is I'm not, even if it's a paid promotional, I'm not going to do a demo of something that I don't honestly like. So when this company sends me the pedals that they have in mind, if we do work a deal where they pay me some money, if for some reason I don't like the pedal, I will contact them and send the pedal back. And I actually have done that several times over the years, where a company sent me a pedal and I said, this just doesn't work for me. I'm not going to be able to honestly say to my audience, I like this pedal. This is what I think is good. So I'm not going to do the video. Let me send this back to you. So that's kind of the way I approach things. Hope that makes sense. Let's see. Okay. What string gauges do you prefer? I think we talked about that for the baritones. For a standard electric guitar, I use 10 to 46, just your standard light gauge. All right. Can you recommend a looper with 2 separate loops that is really simple? Use like a TC Ditto, but would like another loop line. Well, this guy right here, the TC Electronic Ditto X4 looper, and I want to let you know that I purchased this pedal. I paid $249 USD for it. I think that's what I paid for it 4 years ago, whenever it came out. I bought it right when it came out. And this thing has been a fabulous looper for me. It's, to your point, it's super easy to use. And it has the 2 loop lines, so you have a lot of flexibility. Okay, so I can heartily recommend that looper to you. All right, how was the gig? It was great. Gas, I have it constantly. Gear acquisition syndrome, or in my case, guitar acquisition syndrome. Guys, you don't know how often I have to restrain myself. It's like, I want that guitar. In particular, acoustic guitars. I unfortunately have expensive tastes in acoustic guitars, and my wallet doesn't have expensive money that I would need for those expensive tastes, if that makes sense. If anybody's, there's still questions going on, but if you have a dream guitar, drop a comment in the chat. I'd be interested to know what your dream guitar is. Let me tell you my dream acoustic guitar. There's an English guitar builder named Stefan Sobel, and so their acoustic guitar, he builds guitars that one of my favorite acoustic guitarists, Martin Simpson, plays a lot. And I gotta tell you, that's my dream guitar. They're hideously expensive, and for good reason. I mean, they're super high-end guitars, and that's my dream one day, maybe, to get a Sobel acoustic guitar. So let me know if you've got any dream guitars. I'd be interested. Okay, let's see. Have I ever tried wet dry? Wet dry, you mean like the 4-cable method for an amplifier? I do not. I do not use that because I don't use a real amplifier, but it does sound like an interesting setup. If I ever were to migrate back into a real amplifier, I would probably try that method to see if it worked for me. Yeah, Robbie, I guess a follow on to the pedals. Do pedal companies let you keep the pedals you demo or review? Yeah, actually, if they send me a pedal and I'm going to do a demo, like I said, if I don't like the pedal, I send it back, right? It's like, yeah, no harm, no foul. Don't like it, I'll send it back to you. But, you know, if I'm going to go through the trouble of demoing a pedal, then, yeah, I'm going to keep the pedal. And it's not a question of will they let me. I kind of tell them, you know. I had one company contact me recently and say, well, we'll lend you a pedal for a month. I said, well, I don't do that. You send me the pedal. If I like it, I'll demo it. You know, if I really like it and I think it's good for my audience, right? You guys, I have to think it's good for you too, right? I'm not going to demo, for example, oh gosh, I don't know, like a distortion pedal that is focused on metal music. All due respect to metal music, right? So it's, you know, it's a great genre. There are many awesome players in that genre, but that doesn't fit this. It's Chords of Orion, right? So I want to stick with gear that's going to fit and work for you guys. But, you know, if I'm going to go through that trouble, it's like, yeah, I'm going to keep the pedal. If you don't want me to keep the pedal, then, you know, fine. That's kind of my view of it. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. Anyhow, let's see. Check out the Eventide. Oh, thank you, Tim. I forgot about the Eventide Black Hole. How could I forget that? Back on to the topic of favorite reverb plugins. Eventide Black Hole. That thing rocks. That is amazing. It is a little bit more of a specialty kind of reverb, but man, what it does is incredible. Thanks for bringing that up, Tim. I totally, you know, had a brain blip on that. Hey, Bill Fox. How you doing? Bill, if you guys see Bill Fox here in the chat window, he's one of the awesome players who was at the NEEMFest this past weekend. So he's saying, I guess this is in response to another comment, watch Steve Makris on Vimeo because he videos many of the electro-music festivals. All right, thanks, Bill, for bringing that up. Somebody asked about my set, so definitely check out Steve Makris on Vimeo to see more of the NEEMFest performances. And I believe, Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that would be both current and prior, like past NEEMFests. But I think I was over there checking out some of his videos before this year's event. Okay, there's a question I don't know the answer to, so unfortunately I'm going to skip it. Have I ever tried... Okay. What guitar are you using the most right now? Oh, that's easy. The PRS SE277 baritone. Hands down. That's the one you see most on the channel. Acoustic guitar, it's a split between my Martin OM28 and my Loudon. I have an Irish guitar made by George Loudon. So those are the two acoustics, definitely the PRS baritones on the electric side. Maton Messiah 12-string, I've heard a lot of good things about Maton. Have I ever tried out any TC Helicon pedals? No, I have not. 24-inch scale Fender with a locking trem and humbucker and inbuilt GK3. All right, that sounds like a good dream guitar. Dream guitar is a custom Skirvison or a Hufschmid. I am not familiar with those. I'm going to look those up. That sounds kind of cool. Dream guitar right now is a Godin ACSSA Slim nylon string. Great. Oh, and James, you have a Godin baritone, and you love it. What's the drop a note? Let me know what's the scale length of your Godin baritone. I'd be interested to know. Let's see. Jeff says I've been wanting a 12-string electric for quite a while. The Reverend Airwave. Yes, I'm liking the Reverend Airwave. I'm hoping to get it back here on the channel for some more videos. I'm going to put the one thing I'm going to do with the Airwave is put a heavier gauge 12-string set. So I think there's a medium gauge electric 12-string set that's available. I think it goes from like 013 to 056. And then I'm going to down tune it to either D or C, maybe C sharp. And I'm looking forward to that. I know I'm going to have to do a little more setup work to get it optimized, but that's my goal with the Airwave. Once I get that done, I'm going to bring it back on for kind of semi-baritone 12-string stuff. So I think that'll be cool. Oh, okay, Jordan. So you weren't talking about 4 cables. Split after drives, one into one amp, other split into mod, delay and reverb, then to amp. No, I don't do that. Again, because I don't use amps. So I run all my delays and reverbs after the amp and cab model. So within the units and the effects loops. So it's pretty different from the way you would run an effects chain with an amplifier. Hope that makes sense. Have I ever played a Fender Lead 2? No, I have not. I've heard about them, but I haven't played one. Klaus says, I never get custom instruments. The best guitars are made by backyard luthiers I will never hear about. It's probably true. All right. Robbie, yeah, you've set your, Robbie Rose says, I want to get a 59 Les Paul, but I heard they cost over $1,000. Well, if you're talking a real 59 Les Paul, like made in 1959, it's probably over 100,000 US dollars. So those things are, they're extremely expensive. Even the reissues are several $1,000s, right? They're very expensive. Okay, James Milson is replying to my question about the scale length of the Godin baritone is 27 inches. Great, that sounds awesome. Maybe I'll check into that. What do I think about multi-scale guitars? Raymond asks. Lows of the baritone, highs of a regular guitar. I have never played a multi-scale guitar, and I would love to try one to see if indeed I can have that dynamic that you're talking about. I do have a PRS 7-string. To be honest, I have struggled with it. I've had it for over a year, and I'm having trouble getting my mind around 7 strings as opposed to 6. I'm going to keep working at it, but I think with a multi-scale guitar, we're probably talking, right, 7 or 8 strings. I need to get my mind wrapped around a standard 7-string first, I think, before I try a multi-scale guitar. Let's see. Jeff asks, have I ever tried the Fender EOB Sustainer Strat? I have not. Now, is that sounds like that might be some kind of Sustainiac type of guitar, which I have not tried either. Would be interesting to try one too. All right. David Grant asks, hi Bill, just tuned in from Surrey in the UK. Greetings. Enjoy what you do. Thanks for your inspiration. Well, thanks so much. All right. We're kind of at the end of the questions, and I've been going for over an hour. So I'll give you just a couple more minutes if there are any last questions you want to ask. But we'll kind of get into the shutting down the live stream mode here within a minute. Does anybody have a recommendation for a Les Paul alternative that is not an Epiphone? If anybody has a newer recommendation, go ahead and let Dylan know that. And Christoph says, my dream guitar at the moment would be a Schecter Kenny Hickey signature with a Sustainiac. Yeah, sure. And he says, or even a Soul Tool Laguz. I'm not familiar with that one, but yeah. It's great. I think it's great that there are so many wonderful guitars out there at this point in time. I do really feel like we are living in a golden age of guitar, both on the instrument side, the pedal side, the amp side, and the digital modeling side. It's pretty amazing. And you guys out there who are younger than me, like I've been doing this since, I think I mentioned earlier in the live stream, the band that I played in, we started in 1978. And, I bought a guitar synthesizer, an original ARP Avatar in 1979, and I paid $1,500 for it. That was in 1979. I don't know what the inflation rate would be, but that's probably the equivalent of $5,000 or $6,000 in today's money. So maybe somebody knows what that might be, and I wasn't making very much money at the time. It was like a quarter of my year's salary. That was like 3 months' salary at that. Well, not salary, but earnings, because I was only working part-time and going to college at that point. So it was a big struggle to buy that guitar synthesizer, and it didn't work very well. I mean, it's a classic now, but it didn't work very well. You can buy a guitar synthesizer now in 2019 for way less than that, and have many capabilities that we could have never dreamed about back in the 1970s. So it's pretty incredible how far things have come. And yes, we still have to save money. We still have budgets, right? And sometimes you have to struggle to buy the equipment you want. But let me just tell you, we're in a golden age. It's unbelievable. Really, really good. Okay, let's see. Let me just look here real quick, see if there's anything else that we should be talking about here. Okay, so just a couple things. Have I ever tried fretless guitar? I have, long ago. I'm no good at it, but it's really cool. And Tim Baugh, Tim, I think we're going to end with you. Tim's dream guitar is Les Paul or the Godin Classic Summit range. Yes, absolutely. That sounds good. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and close the live stream down. Thanks so much for joining. If you're around later this week, I will have another video posting on Wednesdays like I normally do, and I'll look forward to seeing all of you then. And let me end it the right way. Until then, I'll see you all on the next video.